send you the MR.
Okay, I'm recording, and we got to write tests for a branch. Is this on a different project, or is this just a module in our main repo?
Yeah, main repo. I sent you the link to the MR.
Got it.
And the last commit adds the functionality. That is our own implementation, but it has 0 tests so far. So, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Cool. Let's check out this commit. Okay. And so this is 40 lines. Oh man. That seems.
I look at Lucas' face and I know this is gonna be a pain to test. Judging by his face expression, that's why he kind of.
I don't know.
No.
You know, because you were writing one more ApolloLink, so let's see.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it. That sounds fun. This is great. Okay. All right. I was doing something.
But maybe Natalia, you could give an overview what this is actually doing, because I have no idea. I just see observable, link, subscription, action cable, GraphQL, all these words, and I have no idea what they mean.
This is actually just a module that we need to implement the GraphQL subscription for ourselves. And previously we were going to use a module from GraphQL Ruby, but apparently we have issues with license, like huge issues. Thanks to Lucas who discovered this. And that's why we were going to write our own implementation, but then Heinrich kind of decided that he is fine on himself and wrote it for ourselves. But this is all I can say to Paul. And as you can see, it's using observable. So you should be happy about this.
I am. Yeah, this looks great. Yeah. And it's observable. Is this just like RX observables?
This is not RX observables. This is observable, but not RX observable, because Apollo has its own implementation of observable called Zen observable, but the functionality is very close to RX ones.
And I mean, the subscription basically is, the action cable stuff is a wrapper around WebSockets. So it's basically, just tying together the WebSocket stuff with the observables.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if our unit test is going to do anything. Like we can write a unit test for us, but just heads up, it's going to be very unit testy, because I don't think I'm going to kind of just ignore that we're extending ApolloLink and we can just call this directly, unless someone has more context and knows, no, this is how we can trigger this method with something. This is how we would test ApolloLink and something that would extend ApolloLink, because I'm guessing this overwrites that method. So I was planning on just testing this class method directly, but there might be a more sophisticated way with someone that has more context around ApolloLink and how.
I mean,
are you talking with the?
We have the startup JS, which is ApolloLink, but again, this is a bit differently, because normally ApolloLink is like you can chain stuff in ApolloLink, and normally just pass it through on the one way, and then the other way pass it through as well, right? Like, so it's like an interceptor chain, or I don't know how you want to call it. Where you tie those observables together. But this is basically completely replacing the normal implementation, and it's just like, hey, instead of using HTTP or WebSockets or whatever else method, Black Magic, you're now using the action cable link. And
Okay, so where do we use? Thanks for letting me get some context here, because where do we use action cable link? Oh, we're using it like in our main GraphQL thing. So everything's going to be using this action cable link. Or
so it's if you I don't know what would you mind sharing your screen? That's maybe then.
Gosh, I thought I was here. I was pointing at things on the screen.
I tried to RAPL before.
Thank you, IP. We could have just kept on like this, and then the recording would have been incredibly lame. Anyways, all right. Let me share.
You don't like us, Paul.
No, sorry. I was like, why? I'm clearly lost, but apparently everybody else was too. It was my fault.
So if you open the GraphQL.js, you can see that we are actually splitting based on some condition. So if our GraphQL query contains a subscription operation, I don't know how this actually looks in a GraphQL query, then we use the new one. Otherwise, we just go down the normal flow. So this is actually a cool thing in ApolloLink, where you potentially could implement even something like, hey, I want queries to use this ApolloLink chain versus this. So if you have like different Apollo implementations, different endpoints or different configs for whatever reason, right?
Yeah. So I still don't have a whole lot of context here, but I do see we do have a startup JS link. So I'm curious how we tested that. And that's the thing I'm concerned about is I want to make sure we test it in the context, because this, I could just test just this method, but then, there's the mutation test would reveal that removing this line doesn't break my test. And so I didn't do this the right way. I want to see.
Let's see if this is coded up in the right way.
Yeah, so I see we're actually here doing an actual link, and that's interesting. Yeah, I see we're still calling requests, and that's cool because I mean that's gonna make things easier for us.
I have no memory of writing this test.
Does it have your name on it?
Yeah,
it
probably,
does.
Yeah.
Oh no, because of prettier. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if we need to write a test. So help me out. I'm driving, but I need some navigators. Help me out. Should I be worried about testing this in the context of ApolloLink? Or are we cool with just calling requests?
Why don't we start with writing a test and then we can decide later on?
All right, I just wanted to talk about it. That sounds good. Let's do it. Let's write a test. IP. Why don't we just start, Paul, and stop? We all are waiting on you. Anyways, here we go.
I think if we follow the pattern that was used in the startup JS, that's sort of more unit testy. But because the GraphQL file also has this split, we should probably have a test for that as well, sort of a higher level integration test, I think.
That is a really good idea. We do actually, so our front end integration tests and like they technically hit that. So we have like implicitly using that those lines are covered, but I don't know if we definitely don't have a good value coverage for those probably.
A quick question that I have before we do that is, Natalia, do you think we will end up with a bunch of subscriptions everywhere, or will this just be a thing that we use from time to time? Because right now we're also adding like all the code that's around this to the GraphQL.js bundle. So it's loaded on every GraphQL.js page, but right now only one page is actually using the subscription feature, and it feels like maybe my question is basically, should we have like a different GraphQL? I don't know, how do we call it when we set up the GraphQL setup, or should it be maybe a Boolean in the setup to say, hey, I want this with subscription support or without, or something like that?
Eventually, there will be a bunch of GraphQL subscriptions because real-time updates are planned for the whole sidebar thing for any kind of issuable. So this is already a good part of GitLab. I mean, issuable is issue, merge request, epic, incident, whatever else. And from what I know, the plans are to extend the real time. The question is like how much time this will take, because currently we have only one subscription. And just to add to this, subscriptions will be fine-grained. So we're not subscribing to updating issue. We will subscribe to updating assignees separately, reviewers, whatever else. So it's up to you. We can optimize it right now.
Yeah, we can optimize it later as well. So we could have a follow-up to say like, hey, maybe in the setup we have a Boolean parameter or whatever, right?
Yeah, just for adding subscription, not just. No.
Cool.
This might be a bit
Mark.
premature as well, because you know, how much is this going to increase the main bundle? If it's like
with action cable, it can be an addition. It's not that light.
Yeah, so the bundle size analysis currently says that our average JavaScript size increases by 20 kilobytes. But to be honest, like I think it's still okay, because this will all be, or we should check later on that it's all part of the GraphQL JS bundle. And then it's not like, you know, if the GraphQL JS functionality is a little larger, then so be it, right? Because it will hopefully be cached once you hit the first page that has the
yeah.
I now want to write a lazy link that, you know, you give it the thing you want to, you give it the path to import to instantiate, and it sort of pens until the import is done and then forwards.
You could actually do this here rather easily, because you have the observable already, and in the observable, you know, as far as I understand observables, they should be async. So you could also in the observable have like something like the cable import, right?
Like have it here.
Yes, potentially, but I don't say, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay,
I think let's put some code down. But I'm stopping myself because my instinct is telling me, hey, I'm just gonna start mocking things I don't understand, so we can just unit test this thing. And so one of them being, you know, hey, we're gonna create a subscription, and I want to really capture these things that we've ended up creating. So I kind of want to spy on this, I guess. But someone stop me before I do it. I guess I don't need to mock it, but I guess I do want to just spy on it. But let's see what happens there. So here I'm describing request, and a good it sounds like we should be working on is it creates a subscription. Here we go. Okay, and let me just stop declaring a variable up there. Oh yeah, I was going to create this thing. Yeah, let's create action cable link. And I think I just got to do new action cable link. That was easy. And I think for me to do this bit, I think I am going to need to spy on subscriptions create. Right? I'm going for it. How do I do that again?
Spy on.
Spy on, thank you. Okay, all right, thank you. I was completely blanking. Subscriptions, create, great. Cool. So when I call request with, oh, here's an operation that takes, oh yeah, query variables. Okay. And we could just create a little query here, unless there's a more sophisticated way to create a query. But I'm just going to create a silly query. I know. I don't think that's what they look like, but that's what they're going to look like here. I don't think that's what that looks like, but I'm just guessing. Food.
What does GraphQL print actually do?
GraphQL.
If you go back.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like GraphQL printing. So I'm wondering whether the query is actually a parsed JavaScript object of a query.
An operation. Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't know what print does. That's a good question.
That formats
Oh yeah, it takes an
a
AST
string.
node and returns as a string. Good eye. Yeah. So we'll just give it the lovely abstract syntax tree that's empty. And we'll see what happens. Print will probably blow up, and we can end up, maybe we could just import a query here to use. That would be interesting too. All right, we're going to create a subscription. I really just want to get my feedback loop going, so I'm going to create my cable link, and I am going to do my act, which is request, and we are passing a operation. I called this query, but that was wrong. I'm creating an operation. Okay, great. And I would expect cable subscriptions create to have been called. Oh, is this order stuff? Man, that always gets me. Okay. All right. I do need some navigation. I'm just flying blind right now. All right. Something blew up, which is surprising, because I really thought it would be called. Oh, well, it's not called because our observer is doing its thing asynchronously and is not going to run until I subscribe to it.
Yes, any
That makes
observable, it's not working until you're not subscribed.
Yes. So correct me if I'm wrong, Natalia, because I haven't delved in the RX magic in a while. But and this isn't RX, but the principles apply. There's hot observables that would run this right away. And you're subscribing to, there's a single thing that's triggering things, and you're all going to try to subscribe to that one thing. Then there's cold observables that are going to be triggered every time something subscribes.
Yeah,
Just subscribe to it.
Let's subscribe to it. I like IP as just like, cut the nonsense, Paul. Write the test. Like, let's do it. So here's our observable. Yeah, let's subscribe to it. And I have some thoughts diving in my head of how we can make it more complex, but I won't do that yet. So we're going to subscribe to it, and I'm going to pass a done callback because we're not going to be done until all of this stuff is done. And
would be so cool if Jest had like a way to not need, like we have the nice async await, and it would be cool if there's like a way with observables to basically write sync style tests with the observable stuff.
Yes, and RX does these kind of patterns. Like you could do they have a lot of cool helpers for just, and that's one of the cool things about observable abstractions is it's a nice abstraction. And I think a promise can also kind of, you can translate an observable to a promise, and we could make our test a little bit more readable.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I know.
Apollo startup.
It's cool talking about it. I don't know.
The JS link stuff does the same thing. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, we're good. What I don't know about, because this is an RX, do I have to pass like an object here that has next, error, and like all the different callbacks, or do I pass?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I think in this case, unlike RxJS that does this for us, we need to specify the observer explicitly. So yeah, next, error, and complete.
Oh, you have to do all of them.
I'm not sure. I'm just guessing.
Well, let's create a cool little helper for that. Let's create and
Do we want to check if you need it first before we? No.
Oh, well, fine. That's good too. Yeah, keep me
For
on
what
the
it's
straight and
worth,
narrow. IP. What were you
yes,
saying, Mark?
the startup JS link spec just passes a callback to subscribe directly without sort of next on error and so on, which
Oh, really?
surprises me. Yeah, it's just a callback with a single argument called result. I don't know if that's just a shorthand way of doing an object with next. I'm going to look at the.
But to be honest, like in our setup link function there, we're using ApolloLink from. So maybe ApolloLink from does some magic tying things together that then work with the result thingy.
If we compare with RxJS, from is actually an operator doing this, like from array, from event, from whatever.
Yeah.
But let's check.
Let's just
Where's
run
this from you were talking about, Lucas?
If you're looking in the Apollo startup JS link spec, line 58.
Oh, I don't need.
Yeah, I guess ApolloLink.from basically, it looks like it sort of composes a series of links.
Oh yeah. So this thing blew up because it's not a.
Yay.
Yes. How does anyone know how I can get one of those sweet AST nodes?
If you do, we probably want to do a GraphQL tag. Like we can, where is it called?
The CQL tag.
GQL.
Yeah,
GQ,
let's do that and then pass it a string, and then I think that gets compiled to an AST for us.
Import
you,
GQL from GraphQL tag, Paul.
So I am.
No. It's not named. It's default. Import GQL from GraphQL tag.
Oh, from GraphQL tag. Ooh.
Yep.
Okay. And so then I give it a GraphQL query here.
So
yeah, template string.
Yeah, GQL. So rather than brackets, it's backticks.
Use it as a templater, Paul. So just without brackets, just backticks. Remove brackets.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Yep.
Like that? Or does it go the other way around?
No.
Doesn't
No,
it?
it was fine.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's do it. Is it?
You need a word query as a first one.
Yeah, in here we'd write what we'd normally write in a GraphQL file.
The syntax was like, okay, I get it. It's actually doing it. Okay, that's cool. So I'm gonna query. Oh wait, but I'm in a. All right, yeah, I'm tripping right now, but that's okay. I forgot what GraphQL things look like, so I'm just gonna look at one. Okay, we're gonna call it query foo, and we're gonna look up project. Sure, and I don't have to be explicit about it. Yeah. All right, that's fine. All right, it's not a good query, and it won't work, but that's fine. Okay. Expected dollar found.
Remove brackets. You're not passing any variables.
Oh,
Ooh.
so pretty.
Prettier?
You rock. Yeah, it's probably prettier running on save. I don't know what's happening.
What a great ooh, Lucas. That was really nice. Musical.
Cool. So one thing to note too is like, observables don't do their thing on asynchronously. It's just on subscribe. So all I had to do was subscribe, and then I can assert this thing was called. But now I'm curious, what was it called with? We were called with a couple of things. And simulating this one is going to be interesting. But I'd also like to know, hey, that we did unsubscribe to this thing. That sounds like an easy test to do too. But I'm just going to write a to-do.
I mean, does it make sense to mock the action cable here, or to have this a bit more integration-y and actually have the action cable deliver us some data? I don't know.
Yeah, and that's what I'm not entirely sure about how to do that with action cable. and I'd love to explore it. Or we could be very unit testy about it. Where's everybody at?
I'm at Leipzig, Germany. But
Oh, okay. I heard it's nice there.
yes, we lost Nico. I don't know. I'm not a, the question is like, the unit tests are fine, right? Like, hey, whatever. And I think, to be honest, like the simplicity of this interface, I would just be like, hey, let's check those 3 cases that we basically have here between line 19 and 30, right? Like, if I would mock the cable subscription that gets created. That's what I'm trying to say.
You would mock this thing that we return, or like, and then manually call this thing.
So basically, I would implement something that works like whatever cable subscriptions create. I assume it returns a subscription. I would basically implement a subscription, a mock subscription, which we then can trigger receive on, or however this works, right? That this callback gets executed. It's a callback. Is it a callback? Yeah, it's a callback, right? So
yeah, and so, but what's interesting is like that's actually not necessarily part of what's returned. Like we would want to spy on what we'd capture that argument that we got called with, and then we would manually call whatever we got called with here, and that's fine. There is a way, and there's a more preferable way of doing it if we knew, and I don't, and we could dive into it as well, and I'm happy doing that. But if we knew, oh, this is this kind of object, here's how you can trigger that being called through this Rails cable stuff. But maybe that's not as intuitive, and so I don't know. But we've got 5 heads that are in the navigator seat. So, and the silence is very reassuring.
No, I was wondering. So, if can you have a quick look into the implementation, what the actual cable consumer actually?
Yes, I would love to. Yes.
I have a link I can send. I was just looking at that right now. It's in the Zoom chat.
Yeah. But does it look like this?
I mean, probably yes. Well, okay, that's the transformed version, I guess.
Right.
Right. Version.
But yeah, so we can look at, hey, where do we get subscriptions? Here's our subscriptions, the prototype that's doing create. We're creating a subscription. We're adding it. Great. And so where are we actually triggering these things? It looks like there's over here where we do notify. Might be where we're actually triggering them. And so I can see what's calling notify. And this is my very naive, I don't really know exactly what's going on, but I'm kind of reverse engineering what's going on here. So it looks like connection gets events, and it can receive messages.
So we are listening on received, basically, right? That's the function that we're passing. Received. I mean, someone must do something with the callback at some point.
Yeah, I think Action Cable is doing something, for sure. And we can also just start using it and start resolving errors.
Yes. So apparently it triggers like events. So it looks at the subscriptions is basically a list of subscriptions, and then basically all of them get notified with the stuff that came from the back end. So subscriptions notify. What the heck?
Yeah, and so I think here, let's look for events. Yeah. Yes. So it's attaching to the WebSocket that it creates on a message that we get based on what type our message might be. We're going to notify our subscriptions. So it looks like, yes, we could use Action Cable directly and set up some sort of fake
Subscription.
WebSocket thing.
No,
And
that
then-
sounds too complicated. Because the thing that we're creating a subscription, and the subscription is added to an internal array, right? And then later on, the connection sends something to the active subscription. So I don't know in this compiled file where you are, but if you have a look here,
Oh, yeah.
in this at this file,
Did we send something in a chat?
yes.
Okay, let's check it out.
Yeah, it's always bad with a screen share, right? Like if you scroll really down, like there's this notify function, right?
Yep.
And so what the notify does in line 80 is like it just iterates over all the subscriptions, and if there is a callback name, right? In our case, the callback name is received that matches the callback. It just sends executes that function with the argument.
And I think using notify would be cool. Yeah, and that way we don't have to do some fancy spy like and capturing what we did it. We could be a little bit more closely tied to this. What I would be concerned about is like if this isn't, and there's nothing indicating this, so that's why I feel fine. But if this wasn't like a public module of this package we're consuming, like we don't want to access internals here too much. We only want to interface with its API, but I think this would be fine. Does anyone else have any other feelings or thoughts about it? Does the problem Go ahead.
I'm just checking the tests of the Action Cable subscription itself. So of course they do have it, like a unit test. And I see that they create a fake WebSocket there still. I'm not sure we should repeat this. I'm just saying they do this. I can post a link.
Yeah, I think that would be the ideal. Like, let's try to test it as it would look like in that environment.
That feels a bit integration testy to me. Like if you
For
actually,
me as well,
because you know having the.
Then why did they put it in a folder called unit?
Is that a problem though, making this a bit unit integration testy? Because it means that we don't need to worry about the internals, about like, you know, consumers and subscriptions and so on. And we'd have more confidence in it.
But then we suddenly need to worry about how the Action Cable consumes WebSockets and what they do with them, right? Because if that ever changes and the Rails API changes, and you know, then suddenly we would need to adjust our front end. But if the JavaScript API that we're consuming doesn't change with the notify and so on, you know, it could, I don't know, use pigeons for transport and not WebSockets.
But
yeah, let's follow Lucas' idea. I really like it better.
On the other hand, the trade-off is, and we could stop talking about it, but if they did change something, and we migrated to that, our tests should still pass. We wouldn't have to rewrite them. When we do very unit testy, our tests become a little bit more brittle. Like, so that's why, like, you know, hey, yeah, testing it from that perspective can be nice because that's how it's actually going to be used. And we're just concerned about actually that IO of it from that perspective. But I think that would be nice, but the level of effort, because this is new, especially new territory and domain for me to explore, may not be worth it right now. That's where I'm at. But that's just me. But I am going to call notify unless someone stops me. And I would highly recommend doing that at some point. Cool. So we created a subscription, but I really want to see what were we created with, because we passed a couple of parameters in there. But let me do let me create a to-do for on subscription notify what happens, because that's going to be important. Okay. Oh man, we got this. Is that a random nonce?
Yeah, that's coming from the
That-
implementation.
It's unique idea.
Awesome. We're just gonna look over that one.
Any. Yeah,
What do you say?
a nice expect any.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Let's see that. Any string? Can you do it like that?
Yep.
Cool. Oh yeah, look at this cool thing that I sent. Yeah. And we're gonna, it's our operation. I'll just put that in here. And it is the same operation name.
You can see that the operation is already stringified, right? So
Yeah. Cool. Okay, and then yeah, the query though, we called GraphQL print on it. So I'm just gonna do that. But if someone has a better idea,
no.
go for it. Cool. Okay, and then we got this thing where we have received was a function. All right, that's as good as it gets. Okay. Cool. But now we're concerned about this bit. And that sounds cool. So
I wonder, how would you now testing wise hook into the would you now mock out the subscription create, or how do you get access to the stuff that's returned from subscription create?
we can do it
because you want to call notify on the cable subscriptions, right?
Yeah, I think we can call cable subscriptions notify, and then
yes,
that I'm assuming hits received. So we'll hopefully that's the case, and then we can look at what happens with our observer that we passed to all of this. So it should work out. But I am going to add a nice little console log here saying, hey, I'm hit. Okay. Let's check it out. So I feel like there's an opportunity to put some things in a before each, but I'm not going to worry about it. Actually, I kind of really want to now.
Let's worry about it later.
Okay.
Copy paste driven development. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. You're the navigator.
Okay. You're not navigating if the other person doesn't cry, right? Like.
That's good. Yeah, so this is all the same. And
we probably don't want the mock on next though, right?
I think I kind of really do. So we'll see. I'm gonna leave it. I think I do. Oh gosh, look at that! Look how silly I was. That was so silly. Okay.
So cable subscriptions
now the
notify.
Act, yeah. So now the act is gonna be, yeah, cable subscriptions notify. Whoa, that's not the right thing. Notify subscription, and if it's
that should be GraphQL channel. I assume.
You think so?
Yes, I at least assume so.
Cool. Callback name, maybe received. Okay. We're just gonna pass silly to it and see what happens. Yeah, Yeah, so now I would expect on next to have been called.
Ooh.
That would be the next thing. But I'm not surprised. It's just blowing up and I wasn't hit. We could debug this and dive into it.
Let's subscriptions as identifier. So it looks, what is the identifier? If you look at find all, it filters by the identifier. And the question is like, what is the, when we created identifier?
Yep, you bring up a good question.
Could this be the nonce?
So this is, well, if it is, I
Subscription?
would say that they're using nonce in a way that's confusing.
No. Identifier. Ooh.
What? It's this. That doesn't seem like an identifier to me, especially because you can have. What were you saying, Nico?
Best hashing algorithm ever made, just about stringify.
Especially because, you know, it shouldn't be.
Hey, be
order
happy that
dependent.
Rails people write front end code. Don't bash them.
It's pretty good though. You know, it's I like it's quite. You know, this is. I was able to navigate pretty nicely. Like as far as front end code goes, maybe the fact that this isn't super sophisticated is actually kind of nice. But yeah, that's a little wild. And so I wonder if I guess we can get the identifier from what we passed here, maybe. Let's see.
So the params, it looks like, is simply either the channel, which is the channel name passed to create, or it's an object with the channel in it. So if you go to,
Should we go to the should we just go into the compiled source code that is on Paul's machine and add a console log into the identifier to know what it's logging?
Sure, you guys feel free to come over and do that. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so I'm here and I hit subscribe.
Subscription dot that must be like subscriptions.
So I'm
Subscription, yeah, send, perform. This identifier. I saw it. I saw it.
Oh, you found it? You saw it?
Yes. Line 343.
Oh, you rock. Okay, great. I was gonna keep moving. All right, we are in action cable. And here's our params. We're in more than just action cable. We're in action cable subscription. Yeah, and it has the nonce. Hence, it's an identifier. Okay, and that's actually not. We can capture this still, and that's fine. So I'm going to create a nice little function.
Could we just change the identifier of the subscription in a test?
Well, we could, but this isn't going to be that bad. And maybe you guys will just hate it, but I don't know. I'm going to say get subscription identifier. And we can look at the last call to cable subscription.
Ooh, we have an alternative. Instead of notify, we could just call notify all and it will get the thing. They have a notify all method.
Let's do that instead. So you do notify all. We all received silly.
And the parameters of it, yeah.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Oh gosh, I'm realizing we're leaving some side effects.
Yeah, we need to clean up after our subscription.
Okay. That's cool. That's great. Well, let me leave this one. I meant to clear out the other one. Okay. Yeah, so how can I get rid of my, I guess I need to hit unsubscribe on every one that I've created here. Every observable that I've created, I should unsubscribe. And that's All
That
good.
sounds like you should put it in after each, right?
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
Need to move observable to be a global thingy.
Do you mean like a shared variable?
Mm.
Yeah.
We will have only one, right?
Yeah.
So then you can.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Okay. Observable dot unsubscribe. And that's great. I don't even need this one because now we're actually going to be unsubscribing it. I don't know. We wouldn't actually have tested that it's unsubscribed. I'll leave it. But anyways, that's great. So now I'll create a nice little create I was going to do this. Yes. Let's just do this. If I've already created an observable, you've done this wrong. If I've already created an observable, cannot create observable already exists. Okay, great. So now we go here, boom, observable equals cable link request. We'll pass in the operation. Oh, I don't have the cable link. Yes, I'm adding that to here too. Because we don't have any other parameters for this thing. So let's just do that.
No.
Oh, man. Cool. We got that. All right. And here we're going to request from our operation. Great. And here we're going to do the same thing. Great. Let's see what happens. It's not.
Yeah, the unsubscribe is not. It's funny. I don't know if we even have access to the unsubscribe because it's returning an observable, which is returning a thing. So I think you need
You're totally right. I did this totally wrong. You don't unsubscribe from observables. You unsubscribe from subscriptions. And that's what this is. Yeah.
So I think you need to subscribe to the observable, and that will return you the object with the unsubscribe.
Yes, you're so right. Yes. Thank you. You're so right. Man, this is why I'm glad we're pairing. I'm glad you're here, IP.
I think Nico wanted to say the same thing. I was just louder. No, okay.
So this is really going to have a subscription. Yes. So let me.
Why don't you leave the observable for now at the top and add a subscription?
Maybe. I might need to do that, but we will see. Let me do this first.
Yes, that's okay.
Okay.
By the way, I wonder in real life when those are going to be cleaned up, will they be cleaned up automatically?
What do you mean?
Because if I'm looking at the actual code, line 27 of the action cable link, I'm a bit confused because to me it seems like if no data is there anymore, we don't clean up the subscription. So it feels like we could end up with stuff that we don't clean up and that stays in memory, right?
I was not listening to you the last minute. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I can repeat myself.
Thank you.
So in the action cable link, line 27.
Yeah. Whoa, not this one. Wait, do you mean this one?
Yes. So, if no data, this to me seems like, hey, the subscription is over. We're not sending any data anymore on that GraphQL subscription query, right? That's when you complete your observable, but we don't clean up the subscription in that case. So, if you create a bunch of subscriptions on one page, and even if their subscriptions are closed at some point,
Yep.
you will basically retain the cable subscription stuff in memory, right?
This is a really great idea. So I think we should create a test for
subscription cleans up after itself or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. When
But is this a desirable behavior? You may not want to keep the subscription open to reopen the channel if needed. That's why they don't do it.
That's the question. This is a question that we probably need to ask, right? Like, I don't know. This is where maybe Natalia, how do you know how this works? Like when
what is going on complete? On complete only means that no data will be delivered to subscribers anymore. Even if they exist at this moment, they will receive no data, but this doesn't mean unsubscription.
Do we need to clean up? Do you think we should do we need to clean up? Because we've created a side effect here. And this is only getting cleaned up when we unsubscribe. So should we clean it up on complete probably?
I'm not sure, because usually when observers are created, unsubscribe is not called on complete.
Right, but
this is not the observer unsubscribe, but this is the unsubscribe of the web.
Of the subscription, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think the question would be: is there any case at some point where this should be cleaned up? Like,
I think so, and that's a really, really good point. Because if we just keep creating subscriptions,
and they should be cleaned up when you're, for example, unmount the component that's doing the subscription, or when you're really done. I think there are two different things: stopping receiving data and closing the link. At least, no, I don't have experience with Apollo, but in the past we were talking, it's common to stop listening for a moment and then start listening again. And you do this with the subscription that you already have.
Right. And that's what, okay. I don't know if you could do that with RX observables. I think once you unsubscribe, I don't think you can resubscribe. I think, well, you can always get back. You can?
Yes, with some tricks, you can resubscribe to the existing one. But in general, no.
Okay. But backtracking here, and I'm trying to keep this simple. Let's imagine we have one view app, and the one view app contains both issues, or maybe we have one view app at some point where you can go from one issue to another and you stay in the same view app, right? So if I'm switching, and I'm subscribing to assignees of issue number 1, I'm navigating to issue number 2, I'm now subscribing to the assignees of issue number 2. But we currently don't have anything that automatically like cleans up this first subscription. So you will still get stuff via WebSockets, even if you navigate it away or this thing is not seen anymore, right?
The thing to keep in mind is like we're the ones that have created this resource, and usually anything that's created a thing should also destroy the thing, and the only place that we destroy it is here in unsubscribe. But this only gets triggered
manually.
Yeah, that only gets triggered if you manually unsubscribe, not if we're just done. What is a good question would be, does action cable underlying subscription thing, when we don't receive any more data, does it know I can be done now? That would be a good question to ask. And if it doesn't, I think it makes a lot of sense to say we're done now and we're going to be really done. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I have no idea how this works, right? So I wonder, like, does observer complete get called?
And it's a really good thing we're not overly mocking things out, because I think we can actually test this. Probably in a later period. But
so I was just taking a look at the implementation in ApolloLink upstream, and their WebSockets transport is written in a very similar way. So they are on line 210 in the file that I linked there in Zoom chat. They don't do anything when the observer completes. They just return an unsubscribe. So I have a feeling that the unsubscription is just sort of handled by Apollo automatically somehow. Unless they do have this execute operation, which could be something else.
And I think we can actually I think we can observe this too. So it's a good thing to be aware of, and I think we could check it out as well and see if unsubscribing would help or not. Thanks, Mark. All right, here we go. Boom. We got our on next. Great. So now let's check out if there's an error. On subscription, notify with error. Oops.
And we should have like multiple thingies as well, right? Like sending data multiple times, because that's the whole purpose of the WebSocket itself, right?
Sure. Yeah, we can do it. Let's do it here.
I think it's called errors as well.
You're right.
Sorry.
I think you're totally right. Errors.
I was also checking View Apollo implementation in the meantime, because we mean to use subscriptions with View Apollo. And it seemed that they automatically unsubscribe when the component containing subscription is destroyed, like this happens with many things in Vue, just in case.
Cool. So we don't need to. Cool.
Awesome.
I mean, if we use View Apollo, yes. If we're using Apollo client itself, or like if pure Apollo client is used, then we need to manually unsubscribe in destroyed hook. I mean, in React, I saw examples with component did unmount, and they were calling unsubscribing the subscription there.
I just wonder if it makes sense then to have a helper to kind of, clean up all the things.
Yeah. So this double call didn't do what I thought it would do. So that's interesting. So you see, we notified twice.
Yes.
And it only
is it notify all synchronous method? Or does it have a debounce inside?
I think it's actually all synchronous.
Is there a debounce inside?
It might not be. When I don't know what to wait for, just wait for promises. Let's do it. I'm gonna have to. Speaking of the bounce, I'm gonna have to bounce in a little bit.
Yes.
And I will create a new branch and push this up and mention it in that MR and mention all of the lovely navigators I had to help. Yeah, this isn't doing what we think it's doing. I don't know. That's a thing to solve. So
yeah, that's fine.
Why you not working? Okay. All right. Cool. Well, hey, thanks everyone for hopping on and being flexible. Let me struggle through this a little bit. I will commit this and push it to a new branch and ping on that MR. So thanks everybody.
Cool. Sounds great.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.